have lots of mistakes to talk about. Hi everyone, welcome to this new video. Today we're going to be talking about money mistakes to avoid in your 20s.
So this is me, I'm Mary, and I'm also in my 20s.
I've noticed that you enjoyed my previous money saving tips videos, so I just thought that we would keep talking about money tips, and money related videos. So before we go any further into this video, I just want to say that I am not a professional advisor, so everything I'm going to give you is just from my own experience, and you should take it with a grain of salt or a grain of sugar, whichever you like best. And you should always do your own research, regardless of who is giving you tips. You should always do your own research. There's tons of resources out there that you can read and watch and, you know, whatever. So you should always get several opinions just to be sure that what you're doing is alright. So when you're in your 20s, it can be kind of hard to know what to do with your money, how to manage it, where it should go first, what your priorities should be, just because, you know, your 20s are kind of all over the place sometimes. If you went to university and then you're getting your first job, it can be quite a change of pace. So sometimes it's just a bit hard to know what to do with your money. A good place to start when it comes to knowing what to do with your money is actually knowing what not to do with your money, and that's what we're going to be covering in today's videos with these money mistakes to avoid in your 20s. So I kind of turned this video into a sandwich video. We like sandwiches and burgers in this household, so we like that concept. What that means is that the first money mistake and the last money mistake to avoid in your 20s that I'm going to give you kind of hold together all the other mistakes. Just keep that in mind during the video and make sure you stay until the end so you have the whole picture. Alright, so the first money mistake to avoid in your 20s is actually not asking about money. I know that money is such a taboo in a lot of cultures. Like, I know in France it is, I know in the US it can also be a little bit of a taboo, and I personally don't understand why, because I feel it's hypocritical to think of money as a taboo. Everyone needs money. It's not a secret. Everyone needs money to pay for rent, to pay for food, to live in this world. You need money unless you produce everything by yourself, which very few people do. So you do need money, and everyone is trying to make money. So I really don't understand why everyone's kind of like pretending not to care, not wanting to talk about. It should be talked about because it's very important that you know what you're doing with your money, where it's going, where it's getting wasted, where it should be put for it to be valuable to you. So I really think that we should be talking about it, and that's what I like about making these videos, that hopefully I can help someone out there with these tips and you know, maybe educate some people. Although I'm still in my 20s, so I'm sure I'll still be making mistakes in the next few years, but at least you can learn from me and you know, try to implement these things. So if you can't talk about money with your family, which is usually, you know, the first circle that you start talking about money with, then you can talk about money with other people. So if you can't talk with your family, if you can't talk with your friends, you can always go to your bank. So if you have a current account open, you can always go to your bank and ask for advice. That's what they're here for, you know, and they want you to handle your money with care and in a good way, so they'll help you. And obviously there's tons of resources on the internet for you to read and watch and to educate yourself on finances, personal finances, and what to do with your money in your 20s. So don't just sit there and, you know, be sad because you don't know about money. There's always a way that you can educate yourself and learn more about what you can do. So I would definitely do this first. The second money mistake to avoid in your 20s is not having financial goals. Having goals is life-changing. So let's think about it in a different way. Let's say you want to go travel the world. You're gonna have to figure out what your destination is before you can figure out what flight to book, what accommodation to book, where you're going, how long you're going, what your visits are gonna be. You need to know your destination before you can plan out all the different steps to get there. Well, it's the same with your finances. You should definitely have financial goals. They don't have to be big, they don't have to be small, they can be whatever you want them to be. And then you can split them into smaller steps, and then you'll be completing one step at a time, and you'll slowly get to your goal. This is something that I use in my life for everything. Having a goal, splitting it into steps, and then doing one step at a time. This is, to me at least, the secret to getting things done and to getting what you want in life. And sometimes it does take time, but at least you're doing something that, you know, brings you closer to your goal. The consequence of not having financial goals is that you're just going to spend that money. You're probably going to spend it all because you don't have a specific purpose for your money. And the second consequence from this is that the day that you actually need some money, you won't have it because you will have spent it all on other things that you didn't need at the time. So it's really important to have goals, split it into steps, get it done. Best thing you can do for yourself. Another money mistake to avoid when you're in your 20s is not budgeting. I understand that budgeting doesn't sound like the most interesting thing in the world to spend your weekends doing, but it is so important because it is also a step towards achieving your financial goals, which was the previous money mistake. See, everything is linked. So budgeting is super important, whether it's on rent, on food, on entertainment. Budgeting essentially means that you know where your money is going and how much money is going where. It's really helpful, as I said, when it comes to having financial goals and achieving these goals. And it will just make your life totally easier. It will help you, you know, when you need to spend money on something, you'll have that money. When you want to spend money on something but you don't actually need it, it will help you knowing how much you can actually spend and whether it's possible, not possible. It will just give you a lot of clarity, and we love clarity when it comes to money. It's, you know, something that you should have when it comes to your money. The next one we love. You shouldn't spend too much money on rent. And living in Dublin, Ireland, I probably spend too much on rent. I'm working on it, but it's tough because this is a very expensive city when it comes to rent, and there's tons of cities out there that are really expensive. I'm thinking of New York, but it's the case for a lot of us. We live in cities because that's where jobs are, and so we have to spend money on rent. That said, I just want to say that it's not because you live in the city center and you're paying an expensive rent that it's a bad option. When we moved here, we looked at apartments, you know, outside the city where it's supposedly cheaper. But once you add the cost of transportation, it's actually not worth it. And we would have been wasting time commuting, so that would have been wasted time that I couldn't have been able to, you know, use for YouTube and the blog and everything. So I would have actually lost money doing this. So it just makes a lot more sense for us to live in the city, even though the rent is expensive. Altogether, it's actually worth it. So it's just good to know your options, and that's what I would recommend. Just know your options, just know your area and the different areas around you and what is the best for you. The next money mistake to avoid in your 20s is not having an emergency fund. When you're in your 20s, I know, because I was like this too. I'm not saying everyone is, but you know, it's pretty common. You always think that, you know, you're young, you're healthy, nothing's gonna happen to you, you just got that degree, you're gonna get a job, you're safe, you're secure, everything's great. But life just doesn't work that way, and you never know what can happen. We know that now from last year. We just know that sometimes crazy things happen and you can lose your job, you can get sick. You know, something could happen that you need that extra money that maybe you don't have. So you should have an emergency fund. It is recommended from everything that I've read that you have at least 3 months of income on that account. It's better to have 6 months, but 3 months is a good place to start. I mean, you can't just, you know, you have to slowly build it. So 3 months is a good thing to aim for at first, and then if you can grow it to 6 months of income, it's even better. And you should also start it as soon as possible, even if the amount you can put into that account is really small. It doesn't really matter. It's better to start now than later. At least you will have a little bit of money already on the account. So I would just recommend that you start saving for that emergency fund now and put whatever you can into that account so you can slowly get to the 3 or 6 months of income. Alright, so another money mistake to avoid when you're in your 20s, and I love that one, is getting a car. If you're anything like us, living in the city with good public transportation, you don't need a car. So I would highly recommend that you don't get one unless it's really necessary for you. Obviously, depending on where you live, you might need one. I lived in Idaho, so I know that you know, you can't get anywhere without a car there, so obviously you would get one if you live there. But here we don't really need one. Also, when you get a car, you don't just pay for the car, you pay for the car, you pay for the car insurance, you pay for a parking spot, you pay for reparations, you pay for all these things that come with the car. So it just weighs a lot on your budget. So I would just recommend not getting one if you don't actually need one. Another money mistake that you should avoid in your 20s is spending all of your money on things you don't need. I understand that when you know, start to be independent and living on your own and making your own money, that you can do whatever you want with, it's really tempting to just spend it on all these things that you've wanted for so long. But just always be careful, you know, do you actually need these things? What are they really bringing to you? Spending all your money on things you don't need is a no for me. And also, I know these days that we get influenced really easily through YouTube and all these people getting all these free products. I would just try to like stay away from that and only get what I really need, so you can put all your money that you're saving towards things that are more important to you. So the next money mistake to avoid in your 20s is not having a frugal mindset. So the other day I posted on Instagram and I asked, you know, what is it that is preventing people from saving money? What is scaring them about saving money and, you know, being smart and managing your money in a way that's valuable to you? And most people answered that they don't want to have to stop buying things that they want. So I just want to say that having a frugal mindset means that you are maximizing the value of your money. It doesn't mean that you're not buying things that are important to you. It means that you are not buying things that are not important to you. And there's a huge difference in this. Having financial goals, budgeting, all these things, saving money, you know, you can figure out for yourself what your goals are. And if it is saving money to buy clothes, saving money to buy shoes, to buy video games, then if that works for you, that's what you should do. And having a frugal mindset means that you know where your money is going. You have a plan for your money, and that allows you to spend your money on things you need, on things you want, guilt-free and worry-free, because you know you can actually spend that money on these things. So it's just about having peace of mind when it comes to your money, knowing where it goes, knowing what you can spend it on, and just being able to, you know, put it towards things that you need and you want without living in a cave under a rock, but being smart about it and maximizing the value of your money. The next money mistake to avoid in your 20s is actually a passion of mine. It's about diversifying your income. So not having, you know, a side hustle, not having multiple sources of income is actually a mistake. We saw it last year with everything that happened. You can really easily lose your job the next day, and it's always good to have another source of income, you know, so you can be safe and you don't have to really worry about your money. So stay tuned, because next week I have a video coming up with tons of side hustles that you can do, and you can start today without a penny invested. So don't forget to subscribe in case that interests you. And now we're on to our next money mistake that you should avoid in your 20s, and that is not paying yourself first. You should always pay yourself first. What that means is that you should automate your savings, and savings should be what your money goes to first. So as I said, it depends on your financial goals, it depends what you want to do with your money, you know, what your plan is for your life. So essentially what that means is you're going to have several accounts for each of your goals, and you're going to put your money towards these accounts before you go spend your money on things that you want but don't need and are not saving for. So we made it to the end of this video. This was a lot of mistakes. I have made some of these, so if you have to, you know, don't worry about it. There's always a chance to do better. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I will make a part 2 of this video just because I have lots of mistakes to talk about. So if you want to see this, don't forget to subscribe. As I said, next week's video is going to be about having a side hustle, what kind of side hustles you can start today with no money invested, just with whatever you have at the moment. So if that interests you, then stay tuned and subscribe, and I hope this video was helpful. And yeah, so I guess I'll see you next week for a new video. Bye!